Good morning, everyone. This is Nicole, and I saw this story from Monica in my email, so thank you for that. I'll first leave the link to Lisa Cabrera's video about this article in the description box because she did a great analysis of this article and the subject matter. So the subject is Sperm Count Zero. It's the title of the article, and it has a lot to do with evolutionary and behavioral, industrial, genetic trends that are occurring right now. And the scientists sometimes pretend they don't know what's going on. And as you know, I am a scientist. My field of expertise is in genetics, specifically cancer genetics, cancer biology, genetic engineering. We do use CRISPR. I know people have their own opinions about CRISPR, but in order to study these phenomenon, it's important to be able to knock in, and use transposons to analyze different phenomena like this. So what we're talking about, and I'll leave the link to this article as well in the description box, so you can go to it faster. But what she talked about is that there's a sperm count drop. We already know about natural decrease that's occurring in a very specific population around the world, affecting men, the US, Europe, New Zealand, and Australia, mostly of European descent. And what we also know is that their reproductive abilities are dropping, and it occurs prior to birth. So it happens in utero. So there's a genetic problem. And I know Lisa mentioned the seed of Esau, which was spoiled, and that is a clear representation of what you have here, where sperm counts go from 99 million sperm per mil in 1973 to about half to 47 million per mil in 2011. So that decline perhaps could bring them down to zero in 40 years from now. So they talk about one thing that I wanted to point out because it directly relates to the work that I do. My work is on androgen receptor. I've done a video about androgen receptor. I've done one about prostate cancer before. Just go check out my channel for that. If you type my name of my channel, Nicole Ali, and you type prostate cancer or androgens or anything like that, you should be able to find it. They were saying that due to less sperm count, these men are becoming less male. And that's important to recognize, because when you have less sperm count, less testosterone in your body being produced and being used to activate certain functions of the male reproductive system, it also affects your metabolism. It affects your behavior. It affects how your body does basic functions. It can affect your thyroid functions as well. So all of this is wrapped up into one, because you have to understand that your body is like a universe unto itself. All the atoms and cells work in sync with one another, but if one thing is off, it can throw the rest of the body off as well, and it will not be balanced. And that's what I see with some of the issues that she was discussing in this article. I'm not going to go through this whole article. You can go to Lisa's channel, of course, and she, like I said, she did a great analysis of what was going on. But more particularly with male patients who have prostate cancer, testicular cancer, or any type of reproductive cancer, those who express less of androgen receptor, full-length expression of androgen receptor, meaning that the gene is turned on and it is activated, they sometimes have difficulty in responding to chemotherapeutics, immunotherapeutics, and radiation. And one of my major pushes in my project, one of the main goals in the project is to understand why that occurs. And we found several, more than 10 genes related to androgen receptor and transforming growth factors and epidermal growth factors as well, endothelial growth factors, receptors on the outside of the cell membrane. We've also seen changes in metabolism that occur in response to chemotherapy. And these are chemotherapy drugs that target androgen receptor. So some of the men don't respond well. And when they come down here, they talk about the anogenital distance, the AGD. AGD is something that they don't really use as much to do the testing, because I think they realized over time that when you analyze AGD and it's shorter in certain males that could be of European descent, it mirrors or is very similar to a female AGD. And that is what I saw here. So this person told the author they're also becoming less male because they're producing less sperm. So without sperm, you can't reproduce your group. And I hope that they're taking notice of this, but at a certain point, it won't really matter, because once you go down past a certain number, I think it's like 2.1 children per woman. Once you go past that number, and a lot of the European countries, Keith Newsom talked about this, and other scientists around the world have talked about this, 1.2, 1.6, 1.7. You know, once you get under 2.0, you're at a natural decrease, and it's only a matter of time for you to be endangered and to go extinct. And I think that Lisa was right when she mentioned that the Neanderthal and perhaps the Cro-Magnon as well, which may have been the precursors to these hybrids that we see, that they went extinct due to not only admixing, but they went extinct because they could not produce enough sperm. And even though you produce enough sperm, or you produce a minimal amount of sperm, the quality of the sperm is also important. If the sperm is not viable, like if you produce 100 million sperm per mil, but only, 20%, 20 million of them are, are okay, or 50%, 50 million of them are okay, you produce 1/5 that's okay but not optimal, you still have a lower chance. So you have 80 million sperm that are wasted, 20 million that are possibly used. We have to remember only one out of that 20 million is going to make it to the egg. If the egg is therefore inviable, if the egg has some issues, then the sperm may not even be able to attach to the egg. The only reason why a woman's egg would be inviable or not able to accept a sperm is if her father had issues with his reproductive system. So a lot of this goes back to the seed being the sperm produced from the man. And that's why I think also that this natural decrease begins before the sperm meets the egg. This countdown to zero from the sperm happens when, before the sperm even meets the egg. It happens way before that, because any of these changes that are happening in utero, it had to happen prior to the sperm meeting the egg. It happens at the germline basis. So you have germline mutations, which occur when the sperm meets the egg, when you're in utero developing. And there's somatic mutations. Somatic mutations occur in your body. But if you already have a germline mutation, which is like a foundation of a house, if the foundation of the house is disrupted, or it's cracked, or it has not been sealed properly, there's no point of building a house. You just have a hole in the ground. You just have a nice box in the ground. But if you go ahead and continue building, you build a house, aka the body, and develop that house and build that body up on top of a fractured, disrupted, imperfect structure, your imperfect foundation, that house is not going to stand. It's going to be, sagging to the side after about 20 years of all the weight and pressure and and precipitation and rain and everything else and snow or whatnot, and wind is going to be sagging to the side. It's going to collapse. So all of these things are what I use as an analogy to analyze what's happening in the human body. They show here on this chart the sperm count. So on the y-axis in red, you can see the mean total sperm count in millions. So it goes from 50 million all the way up to 350 million. It was about 338 million in 1970. And then you come down to, I guess that would be 2010, it's dropped to 138 million. And then the other side, the white, that's the red line representing the sperm count. The white line represents the global plastics production, millions of metric tons. It went from less than 50, I guess this would be, less than 50 metric tons in 1970. In 2010, it's almost 338 million metric tons in 2010. So you have a inverse relationship between 1970 and 2010 with the amount of sperm to the amount of global plastics that have been produced. That's BPA, that's the phthalates that Lisa talked about, they talked about in this article. That's also companies like BASF, DuPont, and many of your pharmaceutical companies. Next time you go to a hospital or a clinic, or you go to a simple thing like an optometrist or a dentist, look at how much plastic is in these facilities. And that gives you an idea of what we're talking about. If you're old enough to remember, there were commercials that in early 90s, this is back when Pee Wee Herman, the show, was coming on TV. The commercials would say, BASF, plastic makes it possible. Da, 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 plastic makes it possible. Those commercials, that was the slow infiltration of a lot of this plastic that was being produced. BPA that makes plastics softer, phthalates that make plastics harder or softer. This leaches into your body. At around 1990, I guess 97, 98 is where you had a crossover where it was equal, where the amount of sperm, about 197 million per mil, and you had about 197 million tons of plastic being produced. So while we were worried about Y2K and some of the things that the president or whoever was in office was doing, you had an equal amount of sperm being produced in men and metric tons. This is also around the time where they were gearing up for the Human Genome Project with Craig Venter. You can look his name up, Craig Venter, and they did a lot of the human genome analysis on European or American white males. So obviously that was not a accurate analysis. So here are some of the chemicals I was talking about. The BPA, bisphenol A. They find bisphenol A in everybody. It's even in polar bears in the North Pole. They have it in their breast milk. This has been known for years. This is not new. This links with a lot of the things we've seen with Monsanto as well, because the products that are produced in the food products, they don't even call them food. They call it food products, foodstuffs, food-like products that are produced from companies like Monsanto. They package them in what? Products that are made of plastic and that contain phthalates and BPA. So I hope that you all learned something from this article. Please go and check this out. There is a reason why it's in GQ magazine and it is not in other magazines or news, mainstream media, news networks. Maybe they'll follow the lead of GQ magazine, which is embarrassing for a lot of the news networks if they do so. GQ magazine is read by a lot of white males, or European descendant white males. And I think that's why they have it here, because it's becoming a problem. Anytime you see articles like this in a so-called entertainment magazine that it gives you a serious analysis of what's going on, you should probably take heed to that. I don't see that we have an issue as far as people who are of African descent, those who are African American, African, Caribbean, Hispanic. A lot of times we don't have a lot of these issues. I've never seen them talk about sperm count dropping. In fact, it's going up. Reproduction is going up. When they look at that demographic, those demographics, especially in African Americans, it's going up. So they have a lot of issues they need to deal with. And I hope that, they keep going on this way and not worrying about these issues, because, hey, it's their prerogative. They can do what they want. But I'll leave it at that. You all let me know what you think in the comment section. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Thank you, Monica, again for the article. And you all have a great day. It's Thursday, and I'll talk to you later.